I want to talk to you about, actually I am going to speak to our graduates, but not just to them. I'm going to talk about some things that perhaps every one of us need to focus on. Years ago, a group by the name of For Him used to have a song that, I'm not sure of the title of the song, maybe it was Basics of Life. But it talked about, we need to get back to the basics. I love that song. So we're going to talk about the basics of life today. Three things that are important, or the three C's of life. You like that? But let me begin by just talking about our world just for a moment. We like the idea of change to a certain degree. The starting all over again. Don't you? How many of you would like to hit the reset button? I mean, we don't want to be, as I said earlier, we don't want to be as dumb as they are. And that doesn't mean, because they're not, look, 3.8, 4.0, they're intelligent individuals. I'm not speaking of their level of education. Y'all understand that, right? And I hope they understand that. I'm talking about just the lessons that life teaches us. I don't want to have to go through that again. Do you? I look at Corey. She's getting married. And, man, how many of you remember when you got married? When everybody comes in my office, we're getting married. Oh, that's so great. Why do you want to get married? Because we love each other. Yeah. I mean, how are you going to live? On love. On love. Everything's just great. Everything's just wonderful. Until 2 days into marriage. I hate you. Well, I hate you too. You know, because then, I mean, Lisa and I hadn't been back from our honeymoon. Too many days, and I went to the mailbox, and there was a letter in the mailbox with my name, a bill with my name on it. What's this thing? You mean I got to pay it? Are they going to turn my lights off? I mean, it's one thing after another thing after another thing, and it's like life. Man, life gets tough. So sometimes we'd like to just hit the reset button. We'd like to start all over again. We have a world that's obsessed with becoming someone different than we are. Just change. Sometimes we want to move to a new place, or we think we can escape our problems. So sometimes we think that we just want a new job, and all of those things are good within themselves if we have it in the right perspective. We think if new friends, or maybe I can just get married and my life it'll be complete, or maybe I just need to have kids. I remember this in our own life when Lisa and I got married, and we immediately went into ministry. Here you are, 22 years old, 21, 22 years old. You're in ministry. You don't know anything. But we've been to Bible school, so we should know everything. We think we know things, but here I am thinking, we need kids. Because if we had kids, everybody would not think we were stupid. The kids are out. I can use this word. They won't think we're stupid. You know, I wanted to be 30. I just wanted to be 30. I was 22. How can you be 22 years old and be associate pastor in a church? Nobody's going to listen to you. When we were, how old we were? We were like 25 years old when I first went into pastoring. My first church, I'm a pastor, I'm 25 years old, and 99% of the church are retired. Yes, Pastor, will you please help me? My first wedding was a retired couple that both of their spouses had died, and they were getting married. And I said to them, before I'll do the ceremony, I have to counsel you. And they sat across the desk from me, and here I am counseling these people. They had to be in their 70s, and I'm telling them what to expect in marriage. Because after all, I've been married for 3 years. I know. Wow. Man, I'm looking back now. When I moved here, I think I was 27 years old when I came to be the pastor here at Gateway Church. And I started to say when I came to be your pastor, but none of you were here, I don't think. Oh, there's been some patient people through the years. Some not patient enough, they left. But nonetheless, it's wow, what a lot of water under the bridge, so to speak. But anyway, I thought, man, if I could just be 30, people will respect me. I turned 30, nobody respected me. I had kids, nobody respected me. Those things didn't change me. Others think that a change in their appearance will do it. You know, let's just change the way we look. A survey revealed that 80% of American women are dissatisfied with their appearance. I would say that 80% of American women have no idea what the original color of their hair is. I was just messing. That didn't go over well. Research has also shown that the more time people spend consuming media, TV, yada, 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 magazines, the more unhappy they are with their bodies. Quit watching TV. You know, because that's what the world tells us, that this is what we need. This is what our teenagers are bombarded with in their lives, that you need to look like this, you need to look like that. So it's this mentality that affects them. They think that if they could look like someone in a magazine, it would meet the deepest needs in their lives, that they would then be complete. If you think that you would be happier if you were really handsome, or if you were beautiful, that would make you happy, consider this statement from actress Halle Berry. Halle Berry? Halle Berry? I don't know her. I don't even know if she's ugly or not. I don't know. She said, being thought of as a beautiful woman has spared me nothing in life. Oh, my heart's breaking for her right now. No heartache, no trouble. Love has been difficult. Beauty is essentially meaningless, and it's always transitory. It didn't do anything for me. You would find out a lot of people that have become wealthy, it did nothing for them. You will find that if you did a study that individuals that have won the lotteries and this and that, they're worse off just within a few years than they were before. I was reading an article not long ago that I think it was 80-something% of NFL players within 5 years of retirement from the NFL are bankrupt and divorced. Wow. Man, you guys had it all. You had it all, but that doesn't bring happiness. A professor of sociology said this: the demand for instant identity transformation has never been so pervasive. People want change, and they want it instantly. From fame to the instant thrills of Botox and liposuction, the capacity to reinvent ourselves has become fundamental. So the question is this: can we really reinvent ourselves? Can we really change? And here's the answer. No. No. You can do all the change on the outside that you want to make. All you want. You can change your appearance. You can change your hairstyle. You can change your weight. You can change your makeup. You can change anything that you want to change, but it will not change who you are. You can change your location. You can change your job. You can change anything that you want to change in a tangible way, but it will not bring you happiness. It won't do it. It may even bring you happiness for a few seconds. But if that's what you're looking for, that's going to alter who you are, that doesn't work. The only thing that alters who you are is Christ. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that brings happiness in your life. It's the only thing that brings fulfillment in your life. So when I speak to high school or college graduates, when I speak to them today, I want to let them know that there are some things that you have to understand in life. If you're trying to find the meaning of life, if you're trying to find happiness in life, if you're trying to find direction in your life to know what to do, where to go, that you will ultimately be a happy person. Now, how many of you want to be a happy people? How many of you want the person you're living with to finally get happy? No, just punch them a little bit and say, I think he's talking to you. Wake up. Listen to this one. What is it? Well, real quickly, here's some things that are important. Let's turn to Hebrews. Let me read this to you. Hebrews, the 11th chapter, verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, he refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. That's a big choice. Here's a guy that's now grown up in the house of Pharaoh. He's got it all. He's got it. You want to talk about being spoon-fed? This guy's got everything going for him. Amen. If he wants it, he's got it. He's got it. And he gave it all up, refusing to be named or called by Pharaoh's grandson. No. I want to identify with God's people. I choose to do this than to enjoy that for the passing moment. What college kids have in front of them, what high school kids have in front of them, what the young generation has in front of them is this question, that the decision that Moses made, and that is this. You can choose what the world will put in front of you, or you can choose to give that up for what's best. Remember the one thing we talked about last week? You can make that. In fact, you have to make that decision. Do you want to fit into the world's scheme, or do you want to be what God wants you to be? Which one do you want to be? Do you really want to be happy, or do you want to be temporarily happy? Do you want to enjoy some of the things of life that have with it a lot of negative things that come along? When you decide, or what you decide, in fact, how many of you already decided what you're going to have for lunch today? That's all? The rest of you are sitting there thinking, well, I'm working it out right now, Pastor. I'm going through the process even now. You know, whatever you decide to have for lunch today, it's not going to have a lasting impression in life. For the most part, what you decide to have for lunch today is probably not going to affect you tomorrow. If it does, it was probably a bad decision today. It's not going to have a lasting impression. That's not the things that we're talking about. But there are other decisions that are very important. There are other decisions that you're going to make in your life that will alter the rest of your life. That everything that follows that decision, it falls in line with that. And the most important choice of all is whether or not you will follow Christ. The most important decision you're making in your life. Every one of you under the sound of my voice right now, the most important decision that you will ever make in your life is what you're going to do with Christ. Well, I expect you to say that, Pastor, that's what you are. You're a pastor. I'm telling you, it's the most important decision that you're going to make in your life. The most important decision. Now, when I talk about life itself, I'm going to talk to you about three things real quickly. I'm going to give you the entire outline this morning. Number one is this: challenges. Number two is choices. And number three, consequences. Challenges. Anybody here ever had a challenge? That's life. It's life. Life is all about challenges that you're going to have. You're going to face challenges every day of your life. Some days you're going to wake up and say, God, help me not to have a challenge today, but you're going to have a challenge. There's going to be something that's it just comes at you out of the blue. It catches you off guard. That's what life is all about. Sometimes those challenges will come in the form of an opportunity. That's good. Sometimes, man, there it is. It just pops up in front of you. Opportunity. Opportunity. Look at the door that's opening up. Pastor, you're not going to believe what the door that's opened up for me. Sometimes those challenges are an opportunity that you can take advantage of. And on the flip side, at other times, they will come in the form of temptation that hopefully we resist. So sometimes challenges come in the form of opportunity, and sometimes challenges come in the form of temptation. It is real important for you to understand the difference between opportunity and temptation. Are y'all awake? Opportunity, temptation. Because sometimes the challenge is to figure out, is this an opportunity or is this a temptation? How do I know, is this of God or is it not of God? How do I know that if this is an opportunity that God has for me, or is this a temptation that's not a good thing? How do I know? What does it do with your relationship with God? Makes it real easy. Is this opportunity that I'm facing, is that going to make it possible for me to draw closer to God or further away from God? If this is something that's going to pull me away from God, then I can tell you it's not an opportunity that God sent to you. It's a temptation that the enemy has sent to try to destroy you. You got to not look at just the opportunity in the raw. You've got to dissect that challenge, and you've got to see, okay, let's peel this banana back. Let's see what really is involved in this thing. Let's see where it's going to take me. What's the possibilities here? What's the worst case scenario with this challenge? What really can happen? The good or the bad that can happen? I've had people in church that have been given job opportunities and they would say, oh, Pastor, man, I have been given an opportunity that I can't refuse, and that always scares me. What do you mean you can't refuse it? Are you saying to me you can't refuse it because of the monetary value of this opportunity? Because if you're telling me you can't refuse this because of the monetary value, I see a trap. I see a temptation that you're centering your life around money. And look at the person beside you and say, now, there ain't nothing wrong with money until it starts controlling you. and the devil knows just how much you love it. And if you love it to the point that you say, oh, I love it, I got to have more of it, you probably are in a bad situation. See, I've seen people that have had business opportunities, and they would say, oh, look at the opportunity. And they have jumped in those opportunities, and the next thing I knew, those things consumed them. For those of you that's been here any length of time and listened to me as a pastor, you will know some of the things I'm about to say, because as a pastor, I can just look back at the history. I can look back at people that I have pastored, and I've seen things that have happened that I, as an outsider, could see all of the alarms going off, but they missed it. They totally missed it. I can think of a family now that, man, they were all involved in church, and they had good careers, but man, they had an opportunity. They had a challenge that was given to them. They had an opportunity for a business. And it wasn't long before that business consumed them. They were not in church like they were in church before because of the business. Well, I got this business. If your business is taking you away from the one thing we talked about last week, it may be time for you to get rid of your business. Because the devil you may think that it was a challenge and it was an opportunity, but it was a temptation that the enemy set up in front of you because he knew that you would bite. He knew that you would jump on it because you're focused around money. You're focused around stuff. That you've got yourself in a bind. You've got yourself in such a situation financially that you can't even catch up. That you got to have more. You got to have more. And the more you get, the more that you're spending. And you're adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. So the enemy is putting a situation in front of you that you think that it's an opportunity, because the whole time you're being pulled away from God. These young people are entering into a phase in their life where the world says, you got to have more money. You want a career that pays you all of that. Why? Because that's how the devil sets a trap. You got to have a nice car. You got to have a nice home. You got to have all of these things. Kids right now get married with the understanding that they think they should start off right where their parents are, and their parents have been building things for 30 years. But they think they should step right into where they are. So they put themselves in binds and they put themselves in debts. Challenges. How am I going to handle this challenge? You see, going to the next phase, the second part of this message is this. You're going to face challenges. It's either going to be an opportunity or it's going to be a temptation. And now you got to make a choice. Choices. Choices. The one thing God made us is He gave us the ability to choose. Didn't He? How many of you chose to come to church today? How many of you chose to stay home? Good answer. Just check and see if somebody would be asleep. You got to make the right choice. It's important, because if you don't make the right choice in life, it affects the entire course of your life. See, I asked the question earlier, how many of you would like a do-over? And if anybody said yes, it's because they want to go back and change the choice that they made earlier. They made a bad choice. Just for you to understand that, how many of you in this room right now will lift your hand and say, I have made a bad choice before in my life? Choices in jobs and careers. Some in relationships. How many of you have ever made a bad choice, but when you made it, you thought it was a good choice? Yeah. I thought it was a good choice. It looked like a good choice. Don't you understand that when the devil puts something in front of you, he's not going to give you something that appears to be the wrong choice? He's going to paint it with a new coat of paint. And He's going to make it look just as good as He can possibly make it look. So there's your first sign. Don't make a choice based on how it looks. Whether that's job, career, or relationship. Because I promise you, however it looks today, it will not look that way tomorrow. And every woman in here that's married to a man longer than 2 weeks, say amen. Lisa and I were talking about this, was it this morning? We were talking about this very thing this morning. I do not even resemble. I can pull out a picture in my office right now, and most of you will say, "Who's that?" Well, that's me. It's the little guy down deep that I buried. In fact, I ate him. He's gone now. No, I think what she was saying this morning is, I didn't marry a jerk, but now you're a jerk. And I said, you made this jerk. Because you're right, I wasn't a jerk when you married me. If I wasn't a jerk then and I am now, it's your fault. You brought it out of me. No, she's not the person that I married. Because what happened, and you know, we were talking about this well, we weren't having this conversation with Corey, but we were talking because Corey's about to get married, and look, think of it this way. 3 weeks from now, you won't have to sit there and put up with this. But right now you do. She's about to marry Mike, and the person that she's married and the person that he's marrying will not be the person that they're married to real quickly. Why? Because he will change and she will change, and they will become not the Youngs and certainly not the Gonzalez. They'll become a new family. They'll have a little bit of us, and they'll have a little bit of them, and they'll become their own thing. They'll grow, and they'll change. But the choices that they will make along the way will have lasting impressions upon everyone that comes behind them. Lisa married me, and I married her, and we're not the L.J. Youngs, and we're not the Rose and Billy Wootons. We are Jay and Lisa Young, and we're totally different. We're what are we? I started to say that we were a better representation of the Wootons and a better representation of the Youngs, but I'm not quite sure that's true. Let's just say we are. We are. And I didn't raise my kids like my parents raised me, and we didn't raise our kids the way her parents raised her. We raised our kids our way. And we became, but our kids now are a product of our choices. The choice. Why? Because choices have that last part. Are you already on the third point? I'm already on the third point, 12:07. I'm going to get out of here pretty early today. Your choices have consequences. When you choose to do something that you shouldn't do, don't start whining when the consequences come knocking on your front door. I got some news from my doctor about my eyesight last week, or a week before last now, and I got to tell you, I wasn't real happy about it. You know, you're never happy when your doctor says, hey, you may not be seeing too much longer. You don't want to hear those type things. And, you know, my sister texted me, and she said, I hear that they did some things on your eyes. What's going on? And I texted her back, told her what's going on, and I said, but I have no one to blame for whatever happens with my eyes except for me. Me. I'm the one that did not take care of myself physically. I'm the one that did not keep my blood sugars under control. Listen to me, for all of you that are struggling with it. I'm the one that didn't do that. I'm the one that, because I didn't do what I'm supposed to do, it had an effect on my body. It had an effect on my eyesight. This is consequences for choices that I made. I want to go back and change that now, but I can't go back and change that. Now I rely on the mercy and grace of God, that God can do things that are just amazing, but God doesn't owe me any of that. God doesn't owe me anything. But what I've got to do is say, okay, you know what? I can't change that choice, but I can change the choices that I make now. I can choose what I do today, and I can choose what I do tomorrow, and the next consequences will hinge upon that. How long I continue to be able to see hinges upon what I do right now with the situation that's in front of me. In other words, I have a challenge. And the challenge that's in front of me now hinges upon my choices. And what the choices that I make, the consequences will come from that. You and I, every one of us, we face challenges every day in our lives. And we're given the opportunity to make a choice. Make the right choice. Why? Because consequences will follow. And sometimes we have this understanding or this thought that I can do whatever I want to do and nothing's going to come from it. I refer to those as sleeping giants. That you may not feel the pain right now, but it's going on. You may be not doing the things that you should be doing physically for your body, and you may feel like, oh man, I'm fine, I'm okay. But I promise you, something's going on. Something's going on. And unfortunately, sometimes when people find out something's going on, it's too late. They crossed the line. And the damage is done. Man, I could talk about that personally, but I'll get off personally because some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're there right now. You're there. You face challenges. And what we do in our challenges in our lives is we like to somehow blame other people. Well, you know, listen, it doesn't matter why you're where you are. It doesn't matter who's done you wrong that's put you in your challenge. Unfortunately, that goes with life too. Goes with life. How many of you here have been done wrong before? We all have been done wrong. We all have excuses to be the way we are. Probably been over a year ago, I preached a sermon that simply said, to a certain degree, we're all dysfunctional. To a certain degree, we all have reasons why we do some things that we do. We all have had challenges in our lives, every one of us. Some of you, a little bit more difficult challenges. I'll be the one to admit that. Of course. For the most part, I spoon-fed, man. I was raised in the house of the Lord by Christian parents who loved God, that took me to church every week. I was blessed. I realized that. But I still had challenges. The devil wanted me just as much as he wants you. He came against me just like he came against you. I had to make decisions. I had choices to make. I'm not a Christian because my mom and dad were Christians. I'm not a pastor because my dad was a pastor. I'm a pastor in spite of my dad being a pastor. I'm not here because I was raised in church. I made a choice. I made a choice. I understood that consequences would come from my decisions, and I wanted to minimize those consequences as much as I possibly could. But man, I've been faced with opportunities too. I'll be honest with you. I don't have to do what I'm doing. I don't mean this in any way, and I don't want you to take this any way, but I can make a lot more money. I think I have enough sense. I think I got enough ability. I think I have enough talent that I could be valuable to someone out there. I'm not doing this because I need a job. It was a choice that I made to choose to identify with Christ than to accept the trinkets that the world offered me. The careers that could have been out there. Have I struggled with that? I can't tell you how many times that my wife and I have said, oh, that we could just, you know what I'm talking about, Brother Tom, you know what I'm talking about? Oh, I wish we could just be normal. I just want to be normal like everybody else. And then I work with you and I'm thinking, I don't want to be that normal. Yeah, why can't I just be normal? Why couldn't we just have a normal life? And then I look back and think, man, I had a blessed life. I had a blessed life. But what I have are the consequences and the choices. So right now, some of you may have a challenge. They read today, and Alex, he has a choice. Look, I'm looking at his GPA. He made a choice. He could have chosen to go to UNCW, stay home and go to UNCW or Cape Fear. He chose to go to Cape Fear. Why? Because that's a smart choice, guys. He can get the first 2 years of his college for a fraction of what it'll cost him to go to UNCW. That was a choice. Consequences are going to follow that choice. Yeah, he's going to have less debt when he graduates. Good choices. Good choices. And it follows it. Stand with me just for a moment. What are your challenges right now? Is it physical? Is it emotional, financial, career, relationship? What are your challenges? Is it opportunities or temptation? What is it? Opportunity, temptation. What's the challenge? How do I know if this of God? How do I know if it's not? What does it look like down the road? Is this opportunity going to bring me closer to the Lord or take me away? If it doesn't bring you closer, then I'm telling you, you probably need to hit the flush button on that thing really quick. Really quick, before you get too attached to it. Make the right choice so that you can minimize your consequences, because life will bring you enough pain without you adding to it yourself. I'm going to read one more thing to you. The choices of life are binding in eternity. Choices of life are binding in eternity. You will make choices today that will affect you forever. You make your decisions. And then your decisions will make you. You make your decision. But realize that whatever decision you make will make you. It will be how they refer to you for the rest of your life. I can start mentioning people's names in the Bible, and as soon as I mention their name, you'll come up with what they're known as by choices that they made. Thomas. Choice. Rahab. Choice. I won't go any further. That was two good ones, right? Father, today, there's challenges all in this sanctuary. People are faced with different issues right now. What will they do with this or that? Give them the wisdom to make the right choice. that good things will come in their life as consequences of their choices. I pray today, Father, that the most important decision will be made, and that's all concerning you. As heads are bowed, I want to give you a challenge. Here's the challenge. What will you do with Jesus? See, you may be in this room right now and Christ is not first in your life. He's just not first. You believe in God, but Christ is not first in your life. That's your biggest challenge right now. What will you do with Christ? And now I'm going to give you a choice. You can either ignore the call of God in your life, or you can answer that call. You can either ask Him to come into your life and to forgive you of your sins, or you can continue going down the road that you're going down. But I promise you this, whatever decision you make with Christ, you will suffer the consequences for that. Positive or negative. As heads are bowed, and when I throw the challenge of Christianity up to you, is there anyone in this room that will just simply slip up your hand and say, Pastor, I want you to pray for me because I have not made Christ Lord of my life. Is there anybody here that will say, Christ is not Lord of my life? That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're fit in with most of the rest of the population that we live in. Christ is not Lord of their life. Anybody here? Christ is not Lord of my life. Then everybody look at me just for a moment. Then I would assume today that every one of you are born-again believers, that Christ is Lord of your life. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be faced with challenges when you leave here today. You're going to be faced with challenges. Sometimes life is cruel. When you're given the opportunity to choose wisely. And realize that your choices will bring consequences. Sometimes it hurts. It hurts. But you're going to be all right. Amen? Do y'all just receive that simple word today? Not just to our graduates today about the challenges and the choices and the consequences, but to understand that every one of us in this room today, you may face a challenge before you leave here. I got a challenge going on right now, and that is, where will I eat? And then I'm going to make a choice. Will I eat? Are we going to Akami, aren't we? Will I eat the vegetarian delight or no? Right or wrong? And I will suffer the consequences from whichever. And right now I'm thinking to myself, I'm going on a diet tomorrow. That's nothing to do with today. Oh. Every choice has a consequence. Amen?